Following the collapse of President Bashar al-Assad's regime, Israel has substantially intensified its military operations in Syria, citing security concerns and the need to prevent hostile forces from acquiring advanced weaponry. Israeli forces have advanced into Syrian territory, specifically in the Golan Heights region. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared the 1974 border agreement with Syria nullified due to the Syrian army abandoning their positions, leading to Israeli troops seizing the Syrian-controlled buffer zone. Reports indicate that Israeli tanks have come as close as 25 kilometers from Damascus. Now, the 1974 Israel-Syria border agreement, signed after various Arab nations attacked Israel during the Yom Kippur War in 1973, established a ceasefire line in the Golan Heights, creating a buffer zone monitored by the United Nations Disengagement Observer Force, and it was aimed at preventing further conflict. After signing the agreement, Israel kept most of the Golan Heights but returned the town of Quneitra to Syria. Both sides agreed to limit military forces near the buffer zone. While the agreement reduced hostilities, it obviously didn't resolve the broader conflict. Since the Assad regime's fall, Israel has conducted approximately 300 airstrikes across Syria, targeting military installations, weapons depots, and strategic positions. These include air bases and military facilities, and the strikes have focused on places such as Kalkala and Mazah, aiming to neutralize aircraft and missile systems that could pose threats. There is considerable concern over Assad's chemical weapon stockpiles potentially being acquired by terrorist groups, especially those in ISIS, as some of the prisons are being opened up. Israeli airstrikes have targeted suspected chemical weapons storage sites to prevent such materials from falling into extremist hands. Now, despite Syria's 2013 agreement to dismantle its chemical weapons, suspicions remain about hidden stockpiles. Additionally, Israel has focused on Syrian naval assets. Some of their operations have included strikes on the port of Latakia, which has targeted Syria's naval capabilities to diminish any maritime threats. Israeli officials assert that these preemptive strikes are crucial to national security, aiming to prevent the transfer of sophisticated weaponry to hostile entities like Hezbollah, and to ensure that chemical weapons do not reach terrorist organizations like ISIS. Under this justification, the Israelis have essentially destroyed both the Syrian Air Force and the Syrian Navy. Notably, their ground forces were left largely untouched by airstrikes and Israel's movements into the Golan Heights. Israel's actions have drawn international condemnation, though. The United Nations has urged Israel to cease military attacks to avoid undermining Syria's transitional phase. Countries such as Egypt, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia have accused Israel of exploiting Syria's instability to extend territorial control, citing violations of international law. But these condemnations don't seem to be having an impact on Israel, as their military operations in Syria are ongoing. Officials indicate that airstrikes will persist to address emerging threats as they see them. The situation remains quite dynamic, with regional and international actors closely monitoring the developments, with Turkey playing a role as they are also frustrated by Israel's efforts in Syria. But outside of diplomatic rancor, there really isn't a whole lot Turkey could do.